Today, we're going to dive into the economic architecture of what might just be the next digital frontier, the metaverse. So what is it? How's it going to work? And what does ownership even mean in a world that's purely virtual? We're going to break down the fundamental building blocks of this emerging digital economy, and we'll be using research from the Universidad Política de Madrid to guide us.
You know, the whole conversation around the metaverse just exploded back in 2021. And it was because one of the biggest tech companies on the entire planet made this huge pivot. I'm talking about Facebook changing its name to Meta. Now, this wasn't just some simple rebrand. No, this was a multi-billion-dollar bet that the entire future of the internet is the metaverse.
And that move really begs the question, right? What exactly is this metaverse? And maybe even more importantly, what kind of economic system is it going to have? Because we're not just talking about a virtual reality chat room here. This is being built from the ground up to be a completely new economic frontier.
To really get a handle on this new economy, we have to start with its most fundamental problem: ownership. I mean, how can you prove without a doubt that you own something that's just a digital file? Something that, in theory, could be copied a million times over? Well, the answer lies in a technology you've probably heard of: NFTs.
Okay, so what is a non-fungible token, or NFT? Let's break that down. A token is just a digital asset that's secured on a blockchain, and you can just think of a blockchain as a super secure, shared public ledger. But the magic word here is non-fungible. All that means is that it's unique, it can't be replaced, it is verifiably one of a kind.
Here's an easy way to think about it. A dollar bill is fungible. If you and I trade dollar bills, we both still have a dollar. They're interchangeable. But the Mona Lisa, that is non-fungible. There's only one. Same goes for a ticket to a specific concert in a specific seat. It's totally unique. NFTs bring that exact same idea of provable, verifiable uniqueness into the digital world.
Now, this is a really important distinction to make. When you buy an NFT, you're not always buying the copyright to the image or the file. In fact, anyone can probably still right-click and save a copy of it. What you are buying is the unforgeable, publicly proven ownership of the original. It's the digital equivalent of a signed certificate of authenticity.
And how is that proof secured? Well, that's where the blockchain comes in. It acts as this massive, decentralized public record book. When user X creates an NFT, that event gets recorded. When they sell it to user Y, that transaction is also recorded. It creates a permanent, unchangeable digital paper trail. You can trace its entire history, from the moment it was created right up to the current owner.
Okay, so that's the tech side of things. But how does this all translate into the real world? We know what NFTs are, but what are people actually using them for? And why have some of them become so incredibly valuable?
I'm sure you've seen the headlines, right? These digital art collections, like the Bored Ape Yacht Club, selling for just astronomical prices. So why? Well, it's really a mix of verifiable scarcity and community. For the very first time, digital art has provable rarity, and being a member of a club like this one gives you social status and other perks. And all of that drives up the market value.
But this is where it gets really interesting, because the applications go way beyond just art. Think about video games. With NFTs, you could actually own your in-game sword or armor, and you could sell it to another player. You're not just renting it from the game company anymore. Or a university could issue your degree as an NFT, making it a unique, instantly verifiable certificate. It can even be used to represent ownership of physical things, like a house, or to prove you're the original author of a blog post.
Now, not all NFTs are created equal. On the technical side, there are different standards for different jobs. The two big ones are ERC 721 and ERC 1155. Just think of 721 as the blueprint for a one-of-a-kind masterpiece, like a single piece of digital art. 1155, on the other hand, is built for efficiency. It's perfect for something like a video game, where you need to manage thousands of different items at once.
Okay, so we've got a way to own digital stuff. That's a huge piece of the puzzle. But what about the companies and communities inside the metaverse? How are they going to be structured? Well, that brings us to the next core building block: automated organizations.
I mean, just think about that for a second. Can an entire organization operate with no traditional managers, no board of directors, no CEO? It honestly sounds like something straight out of science fiction, but it's the core idea behind something called a DAO.
A DAO stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization, and it's basically an organization that's run by computer code. Instead of people making all the decisions, its rules are written into what are called smart contracts. These are just self-executing programs that run on the blockchain. Once you launch a DAO, it can just run on its own, all without a human manually pulling the levers.
So, what's the point? Who actually benefits from a model like this? Well, first, the users. Because all the rules are public on the blockchain, the services are totally transparent. And by cutting out all the bureaucracy, they can be faster and cheaper. And second, you have the community members, or the token holders. They basically act like shareholders. If you hold the organization's token, you get voting rights to help steer its future direction.
All right, let's put these two big ideas together. We have NFTs, which give us unique digital assets, and we have DAOs, which give us these new automated, user-governed organizations. So what happens when you combine them? Well, you get the foundation for entirely new economic models that just weren't possible before.
This is where we start to see these really cool new user-focused models pop up, like create to earn. A digital fashion designer could create a virtual jacket, turn it into an NFT, and sell it directly on a marketplace. Or rent to earn. Someone who owns a piece of virtual land could lease it out for a virtual concert or to a brand that wants to build a storefront, generating income just like with physical real estate.
And what this all adds up to is a really fundamental shift in power. We could be moving away from the internet we have now, these centralized economies controlled by a few big platforms to take a cut of everything, and toward economies that are decentralized, driven, and actually owned by the users who build and participate in them.
Now, of course, it's not all smooth sailing. This new frontier is, well, it's kind of the Wild West right now, and the innovation is happening way faster than regulation can keep up. There are huge, complex questions around things like taxation, intellectual property, and basic consumer protection that we still need to figure out.
And that really leaves us with the million-dollar question, doesn't it? As these digital and physical economies start to blend together, creating real value and real jobs, the rules of the road have to be written. The only question is, who's going to be the one to write them? That's a story that's still unfolding.